Welcome, Wyc.
Thanks, Scott.
As you know, my mind does not work laterally. It's linearly.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work well anyway.
Your
but I'm all over.
cut out there.
Yeah, is this on? So we're gonna go around. But I always, when I'm with NBA owners or owners of any team, if you guys haven't dealt with owners all the time, you say, "How you doing?" And it's only last night's score. Like they don't. I'm fine. There is no separation.
I'm in misery.
You're
today.
shitty. You're shitty today.
We lost horribly to a good team, but we beat them by 55 points the last time we played, and we lost last night. And I've been miserable all day. But to cheer myself up, this is what I do. I just put
I brought the ring
for the Knicks fans in the audience. This is a championship ring. Too soon?
No. It's 70. But let me ask you though, would you do it differently now? I mean, the rings I see from the current teams, they come apart. They're worn as pendants. They're totally. So you have to win another one.
At the time this was made, this was 15 years ago.
Right.
So that's
did that hurt? Right. That sentence right there hurt a little bit
of a drought. But at the time this was made, it was the biggest ring ever made. It was bigger than the Patriots rings. Robert Kraft looked at it and goes, "Geez, I thought I had a big ring." Now everything's 3 times the size.
All right, but let's talk about influence. I mean, that's an influential thing. This is the difference maker. This is why some people buy sports teams. Who was Wyc Grousbeck? Sure. Who was Wyc Grousbeck before owner of the Celtics? How would you have been introduced?
Talk about that guy in the third person. That'll go over well.
Yeah, go for it. Well, go. But how were you introduced? Now, is there anybody who doesn't introduce you as owner Boston Celtics? This is Wyc.
I haven't ever thought of any of these questions. Which is why I love talking to you. I was 41 years old when I thought of buying control of the Celtics. I didn't have the money, but I had the dream. I'm a fan, and this is the part about influence that I want to get to, is that influence comes from being authentic, I think. Authenticity. We're all looking for, and the world has gotten even less truthy and more full of lies.
Should we blame the social guys that we just on the stage?
No, I don't think it's their fault. I think, though, but the world has gone totally in the direction of nothing seems to be authentic anymore, and it's AI or it's just a straight out, falsehood. I mean, that's sort of what you get. Being authentic is the only way you can be influential. The Celtics are influential because they authentically, there's teamwork, they're authentically good people, great great players, and they're doing their best, and we win or lose, but it's the real deal. We are, my group and I are true fans of bought the team. We bought it not for money, but for love. It's just the truth. It's been 21 years of that, and it's the truth. That's why things are working, I think, in Boston, is because it's true. Cincoro, we can get to that, but we authentically love tequila. Sitting there with Michael Jordan at 3 a.m. one night after a long night of sampling his favorite tequila, and we all agreed, Wes Edens and Jeannie Buss and I and my fiancée at the time, Amelia Fazzolari, decided to make what we thought was a better tequila than the great tequila we were drinking. And so we authentically, so it's like, it's real. I don't know how you would be influential if you weren't coming from a place of authenticity.
How many owners, and you sit in that Board of Governor room, how many owners, how many teams, how many are authentic? It's not all 30 teams. There's not every owner.
There's been a huge change. This is, that's a difficult question to answer out loud.
And name names, please.
No, difficult question. But my instinctive answer is right now all of them authentically are in there to win, because 2/3 of the league has turned over in the last 21 years. And so there were teams back in the day that were family owned for 30 or 40 years and were being used to pay the college bills and so forth, of multiple generations and so on, a family business model. And it's sometimes hard to then, invest hugely in a team if that's your business model, I think, back then. Now every single group, I put a group together of 22 very well-capitalized people who were just nuts about trying to win a championship.
And you paid what? Remind me, you paid what?
$200 million of equity.
Nothing.
360, yeah.
Nothing.
But it was a record at the time.
Right.
But we did it for love, and so now you look at every single group has been put together by just the same model. It's usually a group. They're paying higher prices now, but it's done for the complete. This isn't paying anybody's college tuition. It's you're being paid in enjoyment if you get to win.
Now, the Adelson family, I know they're well capitalized, but can they approach it the same way as
I don't know them. I don't know them. We haven't voted on that yet. I haven't seen the deal yet on the executive committee, but we welcome I mean, what am I? I don't have anything negative to say about the Adelsons, and they want to come into the NBA. I'm sure they're doing it for the right reasons.
But can somebody who pays $4 or $5 billion for a franchise bring that same authenticity? Because they need to wring a return out of that. Different from someone who paid $200 million.
I don't know. I mean, Steve Ballmer paid $2 billion, but he didn't need to wring a return out of it. I'm not sure what their capitalization is, but I think that the more you pay, almost, if you're the highest bidder for an NBA team, you're going to be outbidding people who are just doing it for financial reasons. That's my theory. You're going to do it you're going to say, I've got plenty of money if you happen to, if you're in that position. And what I don't have is time, and I want to go win something or be on the world stage or hold a trophy over my head. Or, I mean, we help 1,600 charities a year at the Celtics. So there's things off the court that are also meaningful that I don't want to brag about, but I don't want to omit talking about because it's a real part of being an owner. It's a responsibility. Anyway, the more you pay, in a way, the more you must be doing it for love at these prices. I wouldn't say the more you pay, the more it has to be a business. I think these people are often well-to-do enough. I mortgaged my house, okay? That wasn't me. I wasn't handed this team, and I didn't inherit it, and I didn't have the money to buy it. That's a totally different story, but I did it for love. But I think that if people are paying crazy numbers now, the highest bidder, if I ever sold the Celtics, the highest bidder will no doubt be someone that just wants to win.
Okay, well, we've heard a bunch of things on this stage tonight.
You know what? I'm a little thirsty.
You want to do? Are we doing now? Okay. Now wait, as I told you, I told you before that I had a bad experience with tequila on my 21st birthday, so this is not easy for me. You weren't lying. You weren't. I can handle that.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah, you were not. But we're going to get to Cincoro. But we've heard a lot about brands, athlete brands, coach brands, this brand, that brand. Something David Falk told me years ago. And David represented, I'll bring it full circle, Michael Jordan.
The movie Air, the guy that eats alone.
Remember he told us that wasn't.
At the very end,
he told us
the very end of the movie, David Falk is still eating alone.
But he said to me years ago, this is all bullshit. No NBA player is a brand. Michael was a brand. Michael stood for something. Maybe LeBron, maybe a small handful.
I couldn't disagree more. I'm seeing David later this week at a golf tournament.
Ask him about it.
I'm going to tell him he's a brand in some ways, but you're just going down my roster. Jason Tatum stands for being a father, being a teammate, being an amazing person, being very charitably oriented. Jaylen Brown just signed a giant contract and took the entire time to talk about what he wanted to do and give back to the community. And they're some of the, NBA athletes are probably of the top 20 most recognizable, influential people in the world. NBA athletes are probably 8 to 10 of them. So, yeah, they're brands.
I see it. I see David's point.
We've got a $12 billion business, and they're not coming to pay to watch me. $12 billion of revenues to watch 450 guys.
And, well, this point that we heard earlier will resonate with you because the part of sport, and this was from Roger Bennett and Ricky Engelberg from Maximum Effort, it's that familial thing. My grandfather is a fan of this team. Mm-hmm. My father, my son, whatever. That gives influence and power to the Boston Celtics. You certainly see that and feel that in your customer base.
We have 60-year season ticket holders, multi-generations, and we have banners up that not just for championships, but for people who have been in 40 years, 50 years, and 60 years as a family. And they are, they want to go another 60.
So when you sat with Red Auerbach, before you bought the team, you were just thinking about buying the team?
I was kind of interviewing for the job.
Right.
I needed his say-so, even though he had been let go by the Celtics. I knew I wanted to bring him back, and so I wanted to meet with him beforehand down in D.C. and get his reaction and see if we could team up.
And what message did you extract from Red? I think it's important because it tells why, or at least it explains your stewardship of the franchise and the influence that you and the franchise have.
Well, his message was, and then Larry Bird also talked to me 2 weeks later, and they both really basically said the same thing. If you're the owner, you need to show up. You need to be there. You have to really care. and the players need to know that you care, and the owners need to know, fans need to know that you care. I'm like, I don't think anyone cares if I'm there or not, or I'm going to be some guy in a suit or whatever, sitting in the stands. They go, no. You need to authentically care and bleed and die for the Celtics. And in my first press conference, I was asked why I had named the acquisition company Banner 17 LLC, and that was kind of buried in the documents. It was not the headline. The headline was, "We're buying the Boston Celtics." It was Banner 17 was just paperwork, But Bob Ryan asked me, or actually it was Will McDonough, the late Will McDonough, asked me in front of cameras, which I'd never been in front of cameras before.
I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, he said, "Why'd you name this Banner 17, Mr. Grousbeck?" And I said, "Well, I mean, it's self-explanatory." I literally said, and he goes, "Well, why don't you explain it for us? There's 16 banners out there." I said, "Yeah, there's 16 banners." He said, "Are you guaranteeing, for the record, are you guaranteeing a championship for the Boston Celtics?"
Did you bite on that?
I said, what am I going to do? Am I going to lie in my first ever press conference? No. I said, it means we're going to win Banner 17 or I'm going to die trying. And that's been, ever since, that's been the way it's been. And that's the way my whole group is.
There's an obvious next question. Anybody in the audience want to ask it?
What about Banner 18?
There you go. Is it still Banner 17?
I don't know. Have you seen our payroll?
Banner 400 million?
Yeah. Right.
Banner luxury tax?
Yeah. In other words, we're going forward at the same level. No, I didn't rename anything. I figured it had brought good luck. So.
All right, well, tell me about sort of the genesis of this, because I know owners talk, but owners compete. They don't often get to. And by the way, sacrilegious. You could have picked any owner in the NBA.
Genie Bus?
Yes. You guys know the history of the Lakers and the Celtics. But my friend Hal Biegas over here, former deputy counsel of the NBPA, can you do business Lakers and Celtics?
I mean, clearly you can.
Hey, players and owners can do business. We partnered up.
Partnered.
Well, you can ask Hal. There are real aspects of partnership there, in my personal opinion. Yeah.
And again, exerting influence
we split
together.
revenues 50-50, and it's been great for both sides. I mean, really, it is. And we did hit. I just want to take a little, not being defensive, just trying to be straightforward. With Hal here to correct me, we go wrong. But we're faced with a pandemic. There were many terrible aspects of the pandemic. Losing some games weren't like losing lives, but there we were. Once you realize people are trying to save the lives, okay, then what are we going to do with our sport? And we got back together with the Players Association and spent 6 solid weeks figuring out a bubble and new compensation and splitting things, splitting a much smaller pie fairly, and got that all done in, 6 or 7 weeks of nonstop work with giving on both sides and commitments on both sides to team up. It's a partnership.
Speaking of influence, though, if I remember correctly, I was in the middle of trying to start this thing, Sportico, sitting at my kitchen counter. But when the NBA stopped playing, I think that was the signal to not only the U.S., but almost the world that, okay, something's up. We're in it here.
Yeah. We had the Jazz in, actually, and
Mr.
Gobert was on our court,
yeah.
and Marcus Smart got sick the next day. We had, I guess, maybe it was the night before, we had a dinner with one of our partners, Sentient Jet, and Marcus Smart was the guest. Maybe it was the night after anyway.
Oops.
And he's shaking everybody's hand and everything
Oops.
else, and
Yeah.
then Marcus came down with it like the next day.
All right, so we got derailed. Tell me,
Okay,
how does this happen where you, Wes, Jeannie, and Michael
Right.
say, let's compete on this track.
Right.
Let's team up on this one.
We have been friends for years and years. And Jeannie was in first, obviously, with her dad. I got to know her when I came in. Michael came in to the league as an owner, and Wes later on. The 4 of us were on the labor committee, so working with Hal and others, trying to get a deal done. And Michael was the chair of the labor committee. And my fiance, now wife, Amelia Fazlari, is the one who glued it all together. But she said, you guys are negotiating with the players, and you've got all these owners. Why don't you have a dinner, and why don't you team up? And, don't just meet at the conference table. Have a dinner and get on the same page. I'm like, only if you come. So she goes, all right. Tell everybody to bring their +1. So we said, everybody bring a +1 or your spouse. They just showed up, and it was Amelia, and she became the center of. Michael sat right next to her, and we went till 3 in the morning. And by the end of the night, or the next dinner, we had we were drinking tequila at Michael's insistence. And by the end of the second dinner, we said, let's make our own.
There are pretty well-known people who have tequila brands.
Yeah.
This seems to me to have an influence, a power, a brand association that is almost impossible to match. How have you utilized that? Because I don't see it's not in your face marketing. It's not Michael. It's not Jeannie. How is it? It is a subliminal thing. How does this exert itself?
We love it when Michael's influence is expressed as follows. He authentically lives the brand. We gave one of these to President Obama a year or two ago, and he said, "Oh yeah, this is what MJ has in his golf cart. Like he's got it clipped into his golf cart."
Of course he does.
Okay. When you go down to Grove 23 and play golf, there are 150 Cincoro bottles there. You know, that's just, and those are his best friends who belong to the Grove. So he lives it. He's just not going to be holding it. He wears Jordans every day, but he's not appearing in the ads. But his friends are appearing in the ads. The Jason Tatums and others who have signed with the Jordan brand, and the Travis Scott collaborations with Nike and so on. There are collaborations with his friends that are more overt. So we have friends, luckily, all over the country and all over the world really, but over the country where we're distributed, who are drinking it, who are ordering it, who care about it, because they authentically love it.
Is it the basketball brand is akin to this brand? Is it the same principles?
The same, the Celtics and...
Celtics and Cincoro, Jordan Cincoro, Lakers Cincoro.
Right.
Is there a synergy between the brands?
There are. I mean, Jeannie goes over the top with Cincoro, but it's in each of our clubs at our stadium. When you come up and sit with me at a game, we'll have Cincoro at halftime if you want to. I assume you did like it.
I didn't throw it up, so I liked it.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. Well, that's not our slogan. We rejected that one.
It made the second round, though.
Yeah.
Tell me the one.
That's Cuervo. Yeah.
It was
Did
Cuervo.
I say that out loud?
I'll say it. It was Cuervo.
That's grain alcohol. Okay, that's a different thing. 100% Weber agave is a different experience.
Yeah, that was different. I say I'm not a paid spokesperson.
Right.
Retell the Milwaukee
Funny.
Bucks championship, please.
The Bucks championship was great. Although I wanted it to be us, but the day before the potential clinching game, I said to Amelia at 8 a.m., it's tough working with your spouse, or in my case, working for my spouse, and she runs the company. And I volunteer there. But I said, "What are you doing tomorrow night in Milwaukee if they win?" She goes, "They could win tomorrow night." I said, "Yeah, they could win tomorrow night." She goes, "We are getting bottles into that locker room," and so we called up.
Wait, are you supposed to have bottles in that locker room?
Well, no. You ask for forgiveness, not permission. If we asked for permission, we'd still be waiting. Right. So we called up Wes, and then we called his team president, Peter Fagan, and we airlifted bottles, and through Adrian Randall's help, who's here, our head of events and corporate and partner relations, who's fantastic. And she's hosting a happy hour with Cincoro after this for everybody, so don't go anywhere, please. Or don't go anywhere sober, please. But so Adrian went out there. She outfitted everybody in the Deer, what's it called? The Deer District.
Yeah.
The front rows with hats and T-shirts and Cincoro. So we guerrilla marketed the bars, the Deer District on camera, and got bottles into the locker room engraved with, she said, "Wes, what's your slogan?" He said, "History in the making." And so she engraved, 15 or 20 bottles, history made, Bucks champions 2021. And it's like the T-shirts, for the losing Super Bowl team. If you're going to have to trash them if they aren't used, but the Bucks did win. And there's Bobby Portis on camera drinking from a Cincoro bottle as the Moet Hennessy people pulled their hair out.
Yeah, because they were the official sponsor.
But we apologized later. My phone rang the next day. And
who was it?
A senior official at the NBA.
It would have been great if it was David. Remember, David used to say it was just the voting power of one. I know who that would have been. I think we have a sizzle reel from Cincoro, I believe, right? We have a sizzle reel from Cincoro, and I think that's my cue to let's see it.
No, where that's.
No. I don't recall seeing a Super Bowl commercial with Cincoro. I don't recall seeing any commercial
Yeah, we
or
had
Cincoro?
one actually way back when The Last Dance was showing the pandemic. We had a 30-second spot in there that showed a couple times, but we're not hugely capitalized. We're going bottle by bottle. We've sold, I think it's 2.5 million bottles. We're in 40,000 locations around the United States, and we're letting people talk about it word of mouth to their friends. Bring it to a party. If you bring one of these to a party and open it, it's gone in 15 minutes.
Right.
You can bring a bottle of gin to a party and it'll be there, the next March. But you open this thing, it's gone. So it's people. We're letting it propagate. We've heard it takes 8 to 10 years to build a liquor brand, sort of from scratch. We are 4 years into the release. Our competitors, we're actually sort of third in the ultra premium market right now, behind Clase Azul in 1942, but we're actually third after 4 years. But we're probably not right there nipping at second. But I mean, we're here and we're not going anywhere. We're really excited about it.
And I asked you, how involved is Michael? Right. I was surprised. I've known Michael for a long time. I know his attention to detail. I know what he expects. Can you tell people sort of what these angles are, how the bottle's designed? And this was Michael.
This is Michael and Mark Smith. Who's his number one favorite designer at Jordan for all these years, or of the many, but Mark Smitty is really one of Michael's best friends. And so they walked into a board meeting that we had one day, and we were going to talk about the name and what it's going to be and what's the bottle going to look like. And
so that was the plan, to talk about this.
Right,
stuff
and we were going to hire maybe a consultancy, whatever. And they walk in with a duffel bag, and they pull out laser printed bottles of this shape, exact shape. They say, "This is the bottle, guys." And it's got 23-degree angles. It's got a 23-degree slant at the top and bottom. There are 5 sides for the 5 partners. I don't know which side is mine, probably the back. But it says, I think really interestingly, around the ring of the neck, it says, "Share truth." And so that's our authenticity trying to come through. This is sort of our truth, that this is what we want to taste, and we hope you like it. And we'll share it with you, pour it through the ring,
I couldn't tell on the sizzle reel. Did it have the ring, if the bottles are laid down side, what the shape is?
No, but that's true. If you lie 23 of these down flat.
This is really cool.
You lie 23 of them down flat, they make a perfect circle, which is the exact shape and size, I should say, of the tip-off circle of an NBA court. So that's Mark Smith.
Ooh, an audible gasp. I like that.
Yeah. That's Mark Smith coming through. He said, Michael, apparently he said in their private conversation, "Tell me what you see." He said, "Smitty, I need a bottle. I need a tequila bottle specifically. We're going to do a tequila." And he said, "I've never worked in glass, but no problem. Close your eyes and tell me what you envision. What do you see?" 3 words. And so Michael said, "Sleek, contemporary, and unique." So that was the design brief. And they came up with this and presented it to us, and 2.5 million bottles later.
And everybody said, "Yeah, we'll go with this."
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll go with this.
And so let me bring it back to sports. And I mean, last night again, you lose this in-season tournament.
Yeah, thanks. I had forgotten it briefly there.
Oh, you have some tequila to wash it down. It's okay.
I had a moment of happiness.
But
now I'm miserable again.
We're talking about influence. This is, from a layperson standpoint, this is new product, right? It's nobody stands still. It's new product. People are talking about
the
it.
Tournament.
Yeah, the tournament itself. It's just another way for the NBA to exert its influence. You want people talking about you. You want people, whether it's commenting on those courts are ugly or they're not, or why are we doing this tournament. It's another package you can sell. How do you view the innovation in terms of its ability to create influence?
I didn't think it was going to be this successful. I viewed it as a logical thing to do because November is a dead period. Otherwise, November, December are sort of like, there's college football going on, there's pro football, there's NBA and NHL are getting started, but people probably start to watch us more, Christmas Day.
Christmas Day was the thing, right? Now the NFL came
to April playoffs, so here we are in November, now December, but it's, mid-April is the first playoff games and there's 7-game series. It just doesn't feel like there's a lot of urgency around November. And so the idea, because I'm an international soccer fan, football fan, the idea of multiple cups and tournaments is not unreasonable. We just have to do it right. And I think it kind of taps into our truth to some extent, which is we compete. And the more we care about a particular game, our teams and players, the more compelling it is to watch. So one game of 82, you might rest some guys, you might the first half might be a little bit slower, and the second half picks up speed. These games, guys have been diving on the floor. They've all been the sellouts and the ticket demand and the media ratings have all been off the charts compared to a normal November game. So it's already, and the first 10 days of skepticism are very natural, and I probably shared some of it. But I think it's a hands down winner at this point.
So tell me how you.
Except for us.
Yeah, close though.
Hands down loser. Yeah.
How do you relay your philosophies to your players, and how do you get them to buy in? Is that part of the analysis of, do we want that guy? Do we want that guy? Does he believe? Does he buy in? But he's a really good player. But how do you get that synergy between ownership, management, and player?
So I've never thought of having a philosophy before. Maybe I should start. But you mean just our mindset at the Celtics?
Yeah. How do you make sure it aligns all the way to the locker room?
Yeah. I mean, well, there are a few different ways that I've done that vocally. I've been reported when we were down 0-3 against the Heat. I walked in the locker room afterward, and they said, we're having a players-only meeting. I said, I respect that. On my way out, I'm just going to say the following thing. Can't say it on camera, but
sure you can.
You need to have
it's cable.
Yeah, there's cojones are required to be a Boston Celtic, and you better find something or start now. Or I don't remember exactly what I said, but that was the general thrust of my indelicate remarks, and I walked out.
Is there an
and we won 3 in a row after that. I'm not saying it's because of that, but that is me telling them. I mean, I've seen guys. There was a few years ago, our coach was calling a player over at a timeout the guy had not had a good stint on the court. I go to almost every home game and a lot of road games, and so I just watch it with my own eyes right in front of me, what's going on. And I saw a guy not play that well, but that can happen, but not a lot of energy. And then the coach was trying to call him over in the timeout, and he just kind of walked by him and ignored him. And I told the coach and general manager that night that the guy was going to be gone within the next 10 days. We're not going to have that around the team, and he was gone.
Now,
that's life.
I don't remember
it's
which player that was, but
no.
How talented does more talent give you more leeway? If that was your star player, your reaction is what?
Well, you'd wonder why your star player was at 30% level, and you'd see if there was something that could be addressed. Yeah, but this was just wasn't happening.
We hear all the time it starts with ownership. We hear it all the time.
Good or bad, probably.
Good or
right.
or bad. It starts with ownership.
Oh, maybe.
How do you balance? How do you know when you can push or when you have to just let the coach handle it? Or how well do you get to know your players?
Well, I've been in 21 years, and they've been good. I mean, of the 30 teams, here's a commercial just so you don't, you guys have already tired of me, no doubt, but out of 30 teams in the league over the past 21 years, the Celtics ranked 3rd in winning percentage. So we're not first, but we're not, 29th. So it's gone well. Why has it gone well? Great fan support, great general managers, Danny Ainge, great coaches, great players. I did start by bringing back Red Auerbach. I worked with him for 5 years, and I listened to every word he said. And ever since then, I've just tried to say, when there's a decision, I make them quickly, and I say, what would Red do? Or what would a fan want me to do? I promise, that's what I do. So it's not, there's never any hidden agenda. It's what's going to make Celtic pride more, what does Celtic pride require me to do? That's not a bank account question. It's Celtic pride. It doesn't mean, I don't know what it means. You don't know until you're faced with a decision, but I'm making decisions. On the inside of this ring, I engraved Red Auerbach's signature, just in his memory, because he had passed away the year before, 2 years before. But just the idea of the decision's obvious. If you're just going, what's Celtic pride required you to do, the decision is always obvious.
Yeah. I would think that the prevailing sentiment when the Chicago Bulls lost Michael Jordan, when that everything would go down, attendance would down, business metrics would down. That wasn't the case because they had built up some really goodwill with.
Yeah, that's
fans.
A great building, a tough building to play in.
Yeah.
It's all red. Most other buildings are at least 25% green when we play, not the United Center.
Yeah. What have you done to make that bridge strong with your fan base? What's your waiting list and that sort of stuff?
Oh, well, gosh. We have a record waiting list. We've sold out 300 straight games at home, and we appreciate that. We have 11 or 12,000 people on a paid waiting list for anything that comes available.
Wait, you make them pay to be on a waiting list?
Well, what you get for it...
Because that didn't seem too fan-friendly to me, Wyc.
We allow them to pay. Because what you get is you get then some 10-game pack access. You know, we don't sell everything as seasons. We sell 12,000 as seasons and keep 6,000, 7,000 as packages and single games and things just to keep the mix. So you do get ticket access if you do it. And then you get playoff access if they're not all bought. And you are on the waiting list, and you do clear the waiting list eventually.
You don't own your building.
No.
You're a tenant of sort of
The Bruins.
The Bruins,
Right.
and it's Bruins colors, and I would expect it to be a house of green, but it's not. That's not the ideal situation.
Oh, it's been great, actually. It's been fine.
Do you get treated as a partner even though you're
Yes.
a tenant?
Yes, they've been wonderful about that. It's been a 21-year partnership with the Jacobs family in Delaware North, and it's a very strong partnership. We forged it in the first few years, and it's getting stronger. I mean, it really legitimately is a real partnership. We're asset light in a sense. I'd love to be responsible for running the building and see if I could do anything differently or better, but we don't own the building.
That signals to me you have a few ideas as to things you would do differently. Don't tell me, oh, let me see if I could.
I just don't know. I don't personally hire the ushers. I don't personally, hire the chefs or whatever else. But listen, we've sold out 300 straight games, and people think it's the toughest place to play, fan-wise. So the fans love it. So we've got energy in there. We're good with it.
Well, we're late in the fourth quarter, under a minute to play. Anybody? Anybody for Wyc? No Knicks fans want to get out some venom? Nothing?
You guys might win the tournament. I know I'm not going to win the tournament.
Hal, you have some inside knowledge. Help me out here. No? Okay. Volk?
What's the wheels up?
Oh wait, he's a Boston guy.
Yeah, I'm wearing my Tatums. What's the wheels up partnership? I saw their brand in there 4 or 5 times in that Cincoro commercial. Just curious about the other.
That wheels up was at a Super Bowl party at a Rayo's in Phoenix. The Rayo's did a pop up. So that was, we have a partnership with Sentient Jet, which is owned by FlexJet, or part of FlexJet now. So we have a different partner.
Yeah, things have not gone so great at Wheels Up. Anything else?
Hopefully not as badly as you might be suggesting. I mean, they're flying.
They're flying, but
I mean, when you say something went badly at an airline, there's only one thing you think about. Let's hope that's not true.
Yep, we have a couple more. We have a mic coming.
How do you compare your origination story with the Casamigos, which I've heard before was kind of like George Clooney, I forgot his partner's name, Cindy Crawford's husband, getting together and saying,
Yeah, people say
we can
Michael
make
Jordan.
better.
They don't remember my name. I know the feeling. His name's Randy
Gerber.
Yeah, Gerber. Yeah.
Right. Getting together, having tequila and saying we could do something better.
Right.
Um,
Well,
how do you
it's
compete
not like you can own that story. That is just the truth, so we're not going to make something up. But yeah, I can't compare it. They sell way more tequila than we do. It's at a different price point. It's very, fine and all that other stuff. So I have nothing bad to say about them. But yeah, it's like I'm an authentic fan who bought control of the Celtics. And there are other people that have done that too, that type of thing. So, I mean, it is what it is, I guess.
Just getting back to the in-season tournament, some of the traditions of the NBA that maybe we could have seen some problems run into, for better or for worse. If the Knicks lose, the Knicks and Celtics are going to play 5 times this year.
Yeah.
How do you, as the owners and everyone at the top, kind of make sure that something like this doesn't run too deep into those traditions of the NBA scheduling?
Well, we're just going to see what, we're going to see if we do point differential next year or something else. If we have a competition committee with player representation and people and GM representation, and if people really think it's a bad idea, we'll try to figure out some other way. I don't think you want a coin flip, but probably better to do something else. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's winning percentage coming in or something like that. But, look at baseball. Baseball reinvented itself practically with a pitch clock. And it's the best thing that's happened to baseball in 80 years. So there's no reason to just sit still. I mean, playing 5 times, playing the Knicks, we could play them 7 games in the playoffs. right? So we could theoretically, before the IST, we could play the Knicks 11 times a year. Now we can play them 12 times a year.
I think there's preseason games too that they played against.
There you
each
go.
other. Just to follow up, the Knicks and Celtics that last night were both, it was an unorthodox look that both teams were trying to score as many points as possible. Was that a moment that you kind of saw in real time?
Oh, yeah.
Everything kind of coming together.
In fact, after our game, we had a guy sitting right behind me who was feeding, because I sit next to the bench, who was feeding Joe Mazzulla. Like every now and then Joe would say, what do we need? We need 18 points. Well, now we need 21 points. Now we need 25 points. We need Brooklyn to win, but not by too many, it turned out. And so they had a narrow range that they could win by, because we had to score 8 more than they did. So after the game, I went in the locker room, and probably 8 or 9 of the guys and I watched the Nets game play out on our screens in there. And when the Nets missed the final shot and didn't qualify over us, there was a big cheer in the room. So that's just an authentic moment of, the guys wanted to win.
Right, before we hit happy hour, Wyc, your influence is extending to network television. Tell them. Tell them where and when and what.
There's a sitcom coming that I co-created. I was sitting there looking at my life with my amazing wife and her ex, who is still one of her best friends and become a good friend of mine, believe it or not. And we all kind of share an apartment on the Upper East Side. The parents switch in and out so the kids can stay put. It's called nesting, I guess, if you've heard of it. It's a way to make a divorce work out better for the kids. But the adults have to get along. It's all well and good, but he's the biggest Celtics fan or Boston sports fan on the planet. And this whole nesting thing was just grand until about 2 years later, she drags me home. And he's like, no, not the Celtics guy. You can have the Knicks guy, the Mavericks guy, you can have Steve Ballmer, you just can't have Wyc Grousbeck.
Wait, I just want to make clear. She said you can have the Knicks guy?
Yeah. Well, yes. Okay. You literally said you can have Jim Dolan, just not Boston. He said Boston sports is all I have. He's a very funny guy. So he's actually a writer on the show now. But I wrote a treatment. George and Amelia edited it. So we're all co-creators and co-producers, executive producers. We pitched it over Zoom to HBO, CBS, ABC, NBC over the pandemic. Said, we want this to be your next sitcom. NBC bought it. We cast John Cryer as the ex from 2.5 Men, and we cast as the Celtics owner, literally with the Celtics logos, being the Celtics owner, Donald Faison, Turk from Scrubs. And nobody is happier to be the Celtics owner other than me, except it might be Donald Faison. So it's coming out December 23rd, the pilot, and the first regular episode 2 is coming out January 2nd. It's Tuesday nights on NBC.
I love it. Well, Wyc, thanks so much.
Thanks, Scott.
We could do this for hours.
Thanks, everybody.
And thank you, everybody, for coming.
Have a drink. It's on me.
Yeah.
Have a
Ellen,
drink.
you want to take us out, or should I just say thank you to everybody? Thank you to Meta, again, for being our sponsor on this event. We do appreciate that. So thanks, everyone.